Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utpatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunath Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Satadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome everyone. We are in chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the last chapter. So in general, I would always advise you to sit in these classes with a Bhagavad Gita, a copy of the Bhagavad Gita. That way you are also reading along. So far, Krishna had talked about the importance of understanding the dynamics of action. And within that, we heard the description of various components of action in three modes of material nature. And we discussed about motivation, conviction, conception. We discussed about determination. We discussed about the experience and the overall action. Overall action, how they all can be in three modes of material nature. Krishna also pointed out that in order for us to situate in our active life in the most purest, I shouldn't say most purest, in order to be situated in the active life with Krishna in the center, we need to understand one simple principle, and that is that we are not the sole doer. We are not the sole doer. When we understand this, then there will be naturally dedication of action to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in this way, our actions will reach perfection. So all these are covered within the jurisdiction of the dynamics of action. And overall, the point is that one must be engaging in one's prescribed duties, which are niyatam karma, not kamyanam karma or fruitive activities. So this was the sort of like the background. And within prescribed duties, there are three categories of activities: the sacrifices, the austerities, and the charities that we perform. Okay, just So the activities of sacrifices, austerities, and charities should never be given up because they purify even great souls. So these are activities of purification. So ultimately, we are all meant to purify our consciousness. And by purification, we will come to the stage of knowing that we are not the sole doer. And therefore, the dedication of actions to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very natural for us. And that will lead us to perfection. So purification lead to perfection. So without actually endeavoring to purify our existence, without any endeavor to purify our actions, we are not moving in the direction of perfection. So in this section now, which is again a very practical section of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is going to talk about how to attain that perfection utilizing our occupational duties. So overall, the this section is divided into multiple pieces. So 41, the 41st verse is just going to give an intro to the 4 divisions of human society. The 4 divisions are essentially the 4 varnas. Now, there was a brief sort of overview of the varna in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It was 4.13, the Chatur Varnyam Maya Shrishtam. But in this section, Krishna is sort of elaborating on that. The 42nd verse deals with the qualities of a Brahmana. Very, very important verse. 43rd verse deals with the qualities of a Kshatriya. 44th verse deals with qualities of Vaishya and Shudra. And then 45, 46, and 47, Krishna points out the similarities among these divisions of human society. So actually, these are sort of the main points that Krishna wants to establish through these descriptions. Okay, so that's the overall makeup of this section. And then 48, 49 onwards, it's moving in the direction of how to achieve perfection utilizing our occupational duties. So from now onwards, whatever you're going to hear from Krishna in this section, every single verse is just very, very amazing, amazing point that Krishna is bringing up in order to perfect our life in this material world. Okay. So what does Krishna say in the 40th verse? So 40th verse is a generalizing principle that there is contamination with the 3 modes of material nature, spanning lowest to the highest planetary system. So natadasti prithvyam va divi deveshu va punah sattvam prakritijair muktam yad evhi syat tribhir gunay. That there is no such being in existence either on earth, Prithivyam va, nor even among the demigods, Deveshu, in the higher planetary system, who is free from these 3 modes born of material nature. So these 3 the modes of contamination, the Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, this spectrum of colors that get formed by the 3 primary colors. The spectrum actually is not just is to be found within the human society, but the spectrum expands also to the planets of the demigods. The demigods are also in, or they are controlled by the modes of material nature. They are not free. So that actually gives us a very good understanding why in the Bhagavad Gita there is a distinction made between the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Krishna, and then there are the cosmic managers, who are essentially the demigods. So there is a distinction between them. And that is one of the reasons why it doesn't matter we choose anybody to worship and we get the same result. So this point came out in the 7th chapter, 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita very vividly. But this particular verse brings out why that is so, why that distinction is made. That distinction is made because Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriya. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the modes of material nature cannot touch me. He is gunatit. Krishna's quality is that he is guna atit. While here we are seeing that even the demigods, they are influenced by the three modes of material nature. Yes, they are given the capacity to lord it over different properties of material nature, but they are still not outside the domain of the three gunas. So this point is very, very important for us to understand. Okay, so after giving that general statement, then now Krishna talks about the four divisions of human society, which are based on the three modes. So Krishna says, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Visham, Shudranam, Chaparantapa, Karmani, Pravivaktani, Sobhava, Prabhaver Gune. The actions or duties of the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras, they are divided by what? By again two things. Sobhava means the psychophysical trait born of the modes. So Prabhaver Gune. So if you remember, in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna mentioned about the varnas, Krishna says, Chatur Varnyam Maya Shrishtam. Krishna did not name them. What are those? Here, Krishna is naming them. So Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So Krishna did not name them in the 4th chapter. Krishna just said that Chatur Varnyam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashah. So in the 4th chapter, Krishna had stated that the division is based on guna and karma, right? Guna and karma. If you remember, guna karma vibhagasha. Here also, you can see actions, right? You can see the two words, karmani and sobhava prabhavaya guna. So guna and karma. Same point is coming here as well. So in other words, there is no place in the Bhagavad Gita where we find Krishna is talking about the so-called degenerated caste system that is particularly referred to have originated in India. So this caste system is typically based on giving the birthright. If you're born in a particular caste, then you belong to that particular caste. You can see consistently in this 41st verse as well as in the 4th chapter, 13th verse, Krishna said that the division is not based on janma and karma, but it is based on guna and karma. And here Krishna is saying it is based on sobhava and karma. Sobhava, as you can see, it means the conditioned, you can say this is the condition or the programmed nature that we have developed because of our past engagement, not only in this life, but many lifetimes in the past. That is actually making us inclined to particular kinds of activities, that is making us gravitate towards particular kind of qualities with which we do our duties. So this point is very, very important for us to understand. Okay. So here is where I do not have slides any further. So now what are the 4 divisions of human society? So let's just use the whiteboard. What's happening? Okay, I see. All right. So now let's try to understand what are these 4 divisions of human society. Somehow not able to click on. Okay. And click on this, it appears. And I'm connecting with the TV somehow or other. It's not giving me ability to deal with it. Okay. So 4 divisions. Okay. Of human society. So first is the Brahmana. Second is Kshatriya. Third is Vaishya. And then we have Shudra. I need to change color. Okay, sounds good. Okay. Somehow when I'm connecting with the TV, I'm losing certain controls. That's why struggling a bit. Yeah. Okay. So what are these? So Brahmanas are generally considered to be the intellectual class. The Kshatriyas are the administrative class. And then Vaishyas are the mercantile class. And Shudras are, can say, worker class. This is the basic understanding we carry. Another way we can see it is that we can understand in terms of the control. Control. Okay. So what does a Brahmana control? The Brahmanas control ideas. They control their own mind. That's why sometimes those who are sort of leaders in an organization, they're called thought leaders. They control their thoughts, they control their ideas. A Kshatriya is supposed to control people. Vaishyas they control resources. So in resources, particularly, you will see, Krishna points out, they control animals, money as a major part. And the worker class, they don't control anything. They are controlled. Okay? Now, one may say that this is what actually caused all kind of corruption in the society. And that is true, actually. If this kind of division is sort of enforced without actually figuring out the elements of guna and karma, then it simply becomes, without actually bringing any kind of credence to guna and karma, if one starts just dividing the society based on one's birth, then it can very quickly become a source of exploitation. But here we are finding that Krishna's emphasis is that no matter where you go, it is just a natural division. This division is just very natural division. I'll give you two examples to demonstrate this point. It's a natural division of human society. So first example I would like to give is of software industry. So in software industry, what do we find? We find software engineers, of course. So software engineers, they are essentially dignified typists because they are receiving the design, the overall details of what to do from their higher authorities. And they are simply carrying out the task of writing programs. So in that sense, a person who is working in the capacity of a software engineer, they are controlled by higher authorities. So a software engineer is just like, therefore, a Shudra. In fact, it is true that anytime we enter into software industry, we enter as a software engineer, level 1 software engineer. And therefore, there's nothing wrong with performing these tasks. There's nothing wrong with it because there is a need for it. If suppose in the software industry, if everyone says that, okay, I don't want to just carry out instructions, then good luck, that industry cannot function. So likewise in the society also, we need those people who are working at the lowest possible level, really moving and shaking things. If an agriculturist just chooses that, okay, from tomorrow onwards, I'm not doing these low-level tasks, then there will be no food grains produced. So software engineer is just like a Shudra because he's taking orders, he's carrying out the instructions of higher authorities. And the term oftentimes used is hands on deck, essentially. So their job is whatever has been laid down, you carry out. But then a software engineer may be producing some software, but you need in an industry the salesperson to take care of selling that software. You need people dealing with finance, commerce. And then there are managers in the software companies. So managers, they are managing people. They are figuring out the day-to-day activities of their subordinates. In the industries, oftentimes the software engineers are called individual contributors. And then you have people in the level of directors and CEOs and so on and so forth. They are They are essentially the thought leaders. So you can see that in a software industry, you need all four things. The software engineers, the sales, which are representing the Vaishyas, and the managers who are like the Kshatriyas, and the directors who are like the Brahmanas. So whether you like it or not, this division is just natural for a seamless functioning of this industry. Second example, let's take airlines. In airlines, what do we find? In airlines, we find naturally there are seats, right? There is economy class, right? There are economy class. Then if you have the ability to go higher, then there are going to be business class seats, right? Then go higher, there might be first class. So in this way, we find that no matter where you go, there is sort of like a natural division taking place. And depending on where actually your qualifications are, you are sort of placed there in the most, you can say, natural fashion. So I hope you are able to see this picture. And therefore, there are myths associated with the caste system. And the myths that are associated with the caste system is that, number one, it is only practiced in India. Second myth is that, so these are myths. The second myth is that once a varna, ever a varna. In other words, once one is born as a Brahmana, one stays as a Brahmana. If once one is born a Shudra, one stays a Shudra forever. And the third myth is that one is supposed to only attend to one kind of actions. In other words, if in your life you are sort of designated as a Shudra or a Vaishya or a Kshatriya or a Brahmana, that's all you do. There's nothing else. And this is what is going to lead to the perfection of your life. But actually, so Narad Muni, he says something very wonderful in the 7:11:35. The yasya yel lakshanam proktam pumso varna abhivyanjakam yad anyatra api darsheta tat teneva vinirdishat. That whatever lakshan, so yasya yal lakshanam proktam. So the varna, the division of the varna is completely based on lakshan. So lakshan, this word means again characteristics, the intrinsic qualities or characteristics. So intrinsic characteristics. So whatever lakshan that one has intrinsically, based on the condition nature that got picked up over lifetimes, one is meant to gainfully operate accordingly in the human society. So Narad Muni is saying, Yad anyatra api darsheta. If suppose one is supposed to be behaving like a Brahmana because one is fortunate enough to have taken birth in a Brahmin family. But if that person starts exhibiting symptoms of another varna, so Narad Muni is saying, Tat teneva vinirdishat. One is supposed to make that person operate according to that nature. Therefore, one is not supposed to just attend to one kind of action that one may have picked up as a part of one's birth. Okay. So this third point that I'm making is that it is not by birth. Okay. So I hope you get this point. How degenerated we have become from the original standard of the Varna division. And the second important point that comes from Srimad Bhagavatam again is that what is the perfection of these divisions of human society? So it is stated there that the perfection of this division comes out when swa anushtitasya dharmasya sansiddhir haritoshanam. The perfection happens when no matter whatever one is doing, if it becomes directed towards the satisfaction of Hari. Sansiddhir Hari Toshanam. So you can see the word Sansiddhi. Siddhi means what? Siddhi means success. Siddhi means perfection. Sam means all around. So if you want to achieve an all-rounded perfection or all-rounded success through your own psychophysical nature, through your conditioned nature, through your programmed nature, the best way to achieve that is Hari Toshanam, directing those activities for the satisfaction, so satisfaction of Hari or Krishna. Without this, we might be perfectly executing the duties of all these four divisions, but they will not reach their perfection. Okay. So therefore, you can now understand the myths why this is coming. So myths meaning that is not true. So caste system is clearly not only practiced in India, but it's not only practiced in India, but we can find caste system is everywhere. It's everywhere for organization of that particular industry or organization of the functional unit for it to be efficient. So it is not about only a practice in India. The second aspect is that once a Varna, ever a Varna, actually one is supposed to evolve one's consciousness, no matter where one is situated. So the idea is that these could be sort of like the external role. So externally, one may be practicing the duties of a Brahmana. Externally, one may be practicing the duties of a Kshatriya. Externally, one may be practicing a Vaishya duties. Or externally, one may be working as a Shudra, but internally, one should cultivate qualities of a higher nature. One should cultivate divine qualities. So throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's stress is on internal development. And there is no bar for that. There is no bar for internal development. So externally, one may carry out one's duty. Internally, one should cultivate the qualities of a Brahmana. And that is why within the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, there is a process by which one can come to the standard of a Brahmana and get formally initiated as a Brahmana. So Prabhupada had actually magnanimously opened door for anyone to qualify to come to a higher stage. There was never in the history of mankind, women have been given the opportunity to become a Brahmana. Prabhupada opened the door there as well. Women can become pujaris in the temple. They can perform the role of a Brahmana. So in other words, there is no such thing as once a Varna, ever a Varna. One is supposed to continuously internally cultivate higher qualities and come to Brahmanical standard. And again, supposed to only attend to one kind of action, which is essentially whatever is determined by birth, that is clearly not true. Everything is determined by guna and karma. Everything is determined by lakshan, the characteristics that one is exhibiting. And that itself, the characteristics that here, the characteristics are psychophysical characteristics. So psychophysical characteristic, as you can see, the word is essentially, psycho is coming from the word from the mind, and physical is representing the body. So whatever one's physical or mental makeup may be, those can get purified by engaging in purificatory activities, by engaging in activities which are dedicated for the pleasure of Krishna. So everything can be purified. Okay, so I hope you get this background. So now we can go into talking about what are the qualities of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Yeah. Now, very interestingly, when we look at the qualities of Brahman and Kshatriya, look at the duties of Brahman and Kshatriya, they are all sort of captured in terms of the qualities. But when it comes to the duties of the Vaishyas and Shudras, they are more like occupational activities. So that's what you will see. So 42nd verse talks about the duties of a Brahmana. So 18.42. Very, very important words. Shamo dama tapaschaiva. Shamo damas tapaha. Shaucham. Shantir arjamam evacha. Jnanam vairagyam. Jnanam vijnanam astikyam. Brahma karma subhavajam. So there are 9 characteristics of a Brahmana. So 9 characteristics are, so number 1 is Shama, then second is Dama, third is Tapa, fourth, Shaucham, then fifth is Shanti, sixth is Arjavam. You can see that in Bhagavad Gita, Arjavam, this particular quality appears again and again and again and again. Then Jnanam, 8th is Vijnana, and 9th is Astikyam. Okay. So Shama generally means the control of the mind, so mental control. You can also see it as the internal control. Dhamma, on the other hand, means sense control. This is the external control. You can also relate to the 15.7 verse, where Krishna says, Mame vansh jiva loka jiva bhuta sanatana manashastrani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. So we are functioning in this material world with the help of the 6 senses. The 6 senses meaning the 5 knowledge gathering senses and the mind. So there is an internal sense, and then there are the 5 external senses. So Shama and Dhamma together are control of all the 6 senses. Tapa means doing more with less. You are looking for opportunities to take up voluntary austerity for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. It is said that austerity makes one august, and this austerity is the wealth of a Brahmana. This is considered to be a wealth of a Brahmana. A Brahmana is never afraid of taking up austerity. Prabhupada said one time that if I have to say one thing about me, is that I was never lazy, you know. So no matter how much difficulty might be there in carrying out Krishna conscious activities, one is not afraid to take up the necessary austerities. The austerities are involved for doing anything, that is true. But when we take up austerity for the pleasure of Krishna, those austerities make us purified. So therefore, the first lesson that the 100 sons of Rishabdev received from their father is that tapo divyam putraka yana sattvam shuddheda tasme prabhavishnu. So shuddheda tasme shuddhed yasmad. So the tapa or the austerities that one is taking up under the guidance of the pure devotees, those austerities are actually becoming the source of one's pleasure. So one may look, externally speaking, the austerities may appear to be very taxing on one's body, one's health, and so on and so forth. But internally, one is becoming blissful because of the strong connection that one is carrying with one's beloved. So in this case, Krishna. So whatever austerities that one is going through, it is not actually making them feel that, okay, I'm working so hard, I'm pained in so many ways. But one is just happy because one is engaged with Krishna internally and happy within that loving relationship. So actually, tapa becomes the source of bliss for a Brahmana. Shaucham is both internal and external cleanliness. So external cleanliness, of course, taking bath. Generally, Brahmanas are accustomed to taking bath twice a day, not skipping bath. So generally, probably those who have gone to hostels, we have the experience. I remember, like in the IIT hostels particularly, it's not a common practice to take bath every day because, again, it is related to austerity. It's an austerity to take bath. But one is not afraid of going through that austerity to keep oneself clean. But just external cleanliness is not good enough. One should be also making one's mind clean. And there's only one way to make one's mind clean, and that is cheto darpana marjanam. So cheta means the inner consciousness. Darpana marjanam. So it's just like a mirror which is cleansed by chanting the holy names of the Lord. So Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting helps give us the internal cleanliness. So internal. So both external and internal cleanliness. Shanti. So Shanti generally means tolerance. So Brahmana is known for his or her tolerance. So this point of tolerance can be expanded in so many different ways, but we can take it in this way, that Brahmana is willing to work very hard for the benefit of others. So just like the example is given of trees. So taror iva sahishnuna. So when you look at the trees, what do we see? That they are bearing the harsh climatic conditions and even receiving ill treatment from a passers-by, they may chop off a particular branch of the tree, or just cause some unnecessary trouble to the trees, but they are not hesitating to give their fruits, even for those who are sort of ready to chop off the branch of the tree. So in fact, the axe that is actually used to chop off the branch of the tree could be coming from the same tree. So in other words, the Brahmana is actually always exhibiting this quality of tolerance in order to benefit the humanity. They are always having these two characteristics, the compassion and tolerance. Because in order to exhibit compassion in the world, one needs to also have sufficient degree of tolerance. There is one beautiful story of a Brahmana. So he saw that that there was a scorpion who was drowning, and he wanted to save the scorpion. So he picked up the scorpion with his hand to try to save. Now, scorpion's nature is to bite. So he was biting the hand, and the Brahmana, he was trying to put it on a safe place, no matter his hand was getting completely bitten. And a person was noticing. So, what are you doing? The scorpion is biting and you are saving its life? He said that the Brahmana responded that it's the nature of the scorpion to bite. So he's just acting according to his nature. And it is my nature to exhibit tolerance and compassion. So I'm following my nature, the scorpion is following its nature. It's a perfect system. Arjavam, very, very important quality. So here, Prabhupada has translated Arjavam as honesty, but in other places, Prabhupada has translated this word as simplicity. But the point is that these two words are in one sense synonymous, because unless one is honest, or unless one is simple-hearted, one cannot be honest. So how do we understand this Arjavam quality? Very simply, we can put it in this way. So we work in this world with our body, mind, and words. So honesty and simplicity means B equal to M equal to W. So body means what we do, what I do. Mind is what I think. And words is essentially what I speak. So simplicity means that what I think, whatever I think, is essentially is what I speak. And whatever I speak is what I do. So there is a perfect harmony between the body, mind, and speech. When there is a disharmony between what I think, I'm thinking something, speaking something else, that is called a corrupted mind or deceptive. So a deceptive mind. And whatever I am speaking and doing something else, that's essentially a hypocrite. So we don't want to be a hypocrite. We don't want to be deceptive in our behaviors. And that's what a Brahmana truly exhibit through their character, that they are never hypocritical or deceptive. Jnanam generally means theoretical knowledge. And Vijnanam means practical or application-oriented knowledge. Oftentimes also referred to as wisdom. So knowledge and wisdom. You can also say this is knowledge and this is wisdom, because wisdom is basically practical knowledge. In Bhagavad Gita also, there are many, many verses. You can see they hint at knowledge, which is a little bit on a theory level. Like when Krishna says in the 8th verse of the 10th chapter, that Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavaha, mattaha sarvam pravartate. So this is theoretical, that Krishna is saying that everything comes from me. I am the source of everyone. We do not have that realization. But the practical side is that if you know this, then what do we do? What is the practical application of that? So the practical application is that bhajate mam, bhuda bhava samanvita. Those who are intelligent and faithful, they would pick up on that clue that, okay, Krishna is the source of everything. I am coming from Krishna. All the objects of this material world are coming from Krishna. And therefore, they must be engaged in the service of Krishna. And so when we act to engage the objects of this material world in the service of Krishna, then that is essentially wisdom. So therefore, a Brahmana carries both the theoretical side as well as the practical side. And astikyam means the perfect alignment with the scriptures. So whatever they do, they're always thinking about what does scripture say, and accordingly they conduct themselves. And therefore, that's their character is made up of theistic conduct. You can say this is theistic conduct. Their life is basically made up of theistic conduct. So Prabhupada here writes that peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. The Prabhupada has used the word religiousness for astikyam. So religiousness essentially means alignment with the scriptures, having total faith in the scriptures. So these are the natural qualities with which Brahmanas work. So one thing that you are noticing here in this section, every single verse has this word swabhav. Swabhav. So these are the natural characteristics of a Brahmana. So I would like to stop here for today, and we will continue. I took some time because I wanted to introduce this section. And you will see that now Krishna takes this and takes us to the level of perfection by giving some very important instruction. So as I said, from now onwards, whatever verses you hear, they are like every single verse is very, very important. It's like you can think of you're climbing a mountain, you're reaching the peak of the mountain. You're at the last stretch of that mountain. So I can't overstate this point that this section of the Bhagavad Gita is meant to be read again and again and to be realized and practiced in our life. So thank you very much. Let me see if you have any questions or comments. No question? You would have to unmute yourself. Okay, so if there is no other question, we can stop here for today. We'll continue next week. Oh, next week is Thanksgiving weekend. I cannot 100% promise that we're going to have the session, but we'll see. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Yeah.